Hey everyone, so we're just having a little bit of tech issues with being able to bring on Geraldine. Geraldine, I might get you just to stay there. If I can't bring you on camera, I might just bring you on Zoom, because Zoom won't let us. I'm going to mute me here and turn on my video. And then I'm just going to do this and see if this works. And we're going to completely just wing it and see how we can make this work. So, hi ladies, we couldn't get Zoom to click through to Facebook for some reason, but that's okay. Just having a moment. Hey. Oh, because Geraldine won't be able to hear me if I do that. Geraldine, can you hear me now?
Now I can hear you, yes.
All right. So, ladies, what we're going to do is we're going to have a bit of fun and we're going to keep going. I've got Geraldine here on Zoom. Now, Geraldine, if you talk.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Ladies, can you hear Geraldine okay and me okay?
We're making it work.
We're going to make it work. Yes. Yes, Ali's saying yes. So for some reason we can't zoom in from Facebook. So, and I can't bring her on camera, which is very strange. I think the settings have changed. So we're just going to go with it. If this doesn't work, Geraldine and I are just going to record it and then I'm going to upload it afterwards. So please feel free. I've got the questions in front of me so I can see what questions that you have. Right, that is innovation, Ali. Geraldine won't be able to see your questions, but I'll be able to share them with you. Oh, that's great, Beck. Welcome back. Thanks, ladies, for sticking up with us. Just let me give me 1 sec while I put this on my tripod, and then I will have the camera on Geraldine as we go. And you can see my office behind me. There we go. Let's make this work. Okay, let me. Yeah, I've upgraded Zoom too. I don't know what's going on, but that's okay. I'm just going to hold this. Let's get going. So Geraldine, thank you so much for being here. So ladies, as you know, there's a lot of challenges. There's a lot of fear at the moment around what COVID-19 means for your business and the impacts that we're seeing from cash flow and people trying to, some people are massively impacted and others are not as badly impacted depending on the industry that we're in. And so what I really wanted to do today is I wanted to bring you some information around what does all the stimulus packages actually mean. So if you're anything like me, you started Googling and you're like, you're hearing all the politicians talk about this and that and you're going, well, hang on, what does that mean? And how do you get access to it? And how do you know you're eligible? So I had all of those questions myself and I went to the New South Wales government and I'm a mentor for the Women in New South Wales Entrepreneurial Network and I still couldn't get the answers I wanted. So I went to my trusty accountant bookkeeper, Geraldene Dobson, who is in the know and I should have just went to her straight away. So today I wanted to bring you Geraldine to be able to answer some of those questions for you and for her to be able to break down actually what does it mean for small businesses. So a lot of my clients and myself, we don't necessarily have payroll. So that was one of the things, Geraldine, that I heard a lot around, if you have payroll, there's some tax benefits there. And for myself, I outsource to other businesses. So I have all of my team are business owners. So it's all done by contracts. It's not done through payroll. So I had some questions and I've asked Geraldine to jump on and share those questions. So Geraldine is from Hemisphere Accounting and she is amazing and has been in our real entrepreneur community for many years now. So I'm very grateful for your time, Geraldine. Thank you. I'm going to turn around and Geraldine, maybe if you could just start by sharing a little bit around what's going on and how the best to break this down for us, please.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of uncertainty and it's obviously a very trying time for lots of businesses. The government are coming out with stuff and they are changing it probably literally on a daily basis. So we can talk about what's out there now, but I think there's talk of them actually bringing more stuff out potentially. So I guess the first, and also there's things that have been done at sort of the federal level, so by the overall government, and then individual states also doing independent things as well. So it's kind of depending on where you're located as well, might depend on what you get. So just broadly, from a federal point of view, what they've announced is an economic stimulus plan. The first portion of that is kind of giving some income literally $750 of cash, but that really is only for low income people who are pretty much on benefits, I'd say, and they will be receiving that around the 31st of March, and there's a specific group of people that receive that. So some of you ladies might qualify, I'm not sure. I will put a link to, I've got an article on my website, and I've got a link in there as to who it qualifies for that. Then the other thing that, in terms of businesses, so in terms of running a business, so the kind of things that will impact you and is impacting small and medium businesses, and it's really focused on people who are employing staff, unfortunately. Well, not unfortunately, but they're trying to keep people employed, because even amongst my own clients, I've seen already quite a few people having to lay off staff just because they're not getting the income. People who are in industries such as the arts, because obviously all those shows are cancelled, they've literally had to let staff go immediately because they just don't have any income coming in. So what the benefits or the kind of stimulus package involves is really in terms of you employing people. And so if you employ people, you will get a credit up to the value of 50% of your PAYG. So in other words, when you run a payroll, you deduct PAYG off your employee, and then in your BAS, whether it's monthly in your IAS and then quarterly in your quarter-end BAS, you pay that PAYG over to the ATO. And so how the package is working is that you will only have to pay over half of that PAYG. Your employee is still regarded as having paid that tax, so it doesn't affect your employee at all, but it's kind of giving you, so for example, if your PAYG bill for the quarter is $2,000, you only have to pay over $1,000. And so that's the way that works. And it's up to a maximum of $25,000. So you need to have a fairly significant payroll to get to that level. And I guess, and it's at the moment, they're talking about starting it from the March BAS. So in other words, the March BAS, which is coming to an end in the next couple of weeks, that will be the first BAS that it applies to. They haven't really laid out exactly what happens when you report PAYG monthly. So some people do a monthly, so January and February they would have reported, and then March would just be March's PAYG, whereas some people report quarterly, and so they would put January, February and March's PAYG in March. So I think they will potentially come back and give you a credit for January and February as well, but they haven't actually exactly laid out the logistics of how that's going to work. So that's the main thing. And then if you employ apprentices, which I don't know that many of us do, but if you do, they are giving you a wage subsidy of up to 50% of the apprentices' wages for up to 9 months. So I guess trying to keep those apprentices employed and giving you 50% towards that. And then the third or fourth kind of section of the federal plan is around business investment incentives, which I'm not sure the current climate will really benefit a lot of people, because even at the moment the instant asset write-off limit is 30,000. In other words, if you buy something up to the value of 30,000 an asset, you can instantly write it off rather than having to depreciate it over a number of years. So they're upping that number to 150,000. Now, obviously, you need to have the money to be able to spend that in the first place. But I guess you could buy something which you're going to finance. And then you would still, so if you finance it, it's regarding as having paid for it, and you can still deduct it. So it may be worthwhile for some people who are looking at investing in some big piece of equipment, or you would then get that up to $150,000 deduction instantly rather than having to write it off. Now, just a key thing in terms of this PAYG is that it's really only applicable for companies and potentially trading trusts. Sole traders and partnerships, it only applies to their employees. So you can, they can employ people, and you can write off, you can get a credit for that PAYG. But if you're a sole trader or a partner, you can't pay yourself a salary. So whereas if you have a company structure, you could put yourself on the payroll, which potentially would put up the wages, but it still may not make sense from a tax point of view to do that. If you have big director loans that you actually owing to yourself, it's still from a tax point of view probably more beneficial to pay off those director loans, because that will be tax-free from a director's point of view. But if that's not the case and you are planning on paying yourself a salary through your company, then now's the time to put it on and get a benefit of not having to pay the full PAYG over to the ATO. I think, so I don't know, does that make sense, Sophie? Do you have any questions around
that definitely makes sense to me. Ladies, please feel free to use the chat to ask any questions specifically that you would like to know. One in particular, Geraldine, around businesses who, whether they use outsourcing, they don't have staff, I think you touched on sole traders, but, network marketers, small business owners who it is just them. So even if they have a company, but they're outsourcing all of their roles as opposed to bringing on teams.
Unfortunately, you don't get anything really. The only real, in terms of, I suppose, if you don't employ anyone, the plan is very much focused on keeping people employed, because the first thing people do when these kind of situations happen and they lose business is they've got to lay people off. And so they're trying to keep people employed as long as possible. What they're saying is that they're saying sole traders will benefit from the point of view of there being money put into the economy so people can spend money. I'm not sure if it's really actually going to work that way, to be honest. But so unfortunately, if you outsource everything and there's no real, like that $25,000 credit that they're saying, or saying that people, that companies or businesses are getting, is really in the form of a credit for your PAYG. So if you don't employ anyone, unfortunately, you can't actually get the benefit.
Yeah. So
I think maybe if you don't employ anyone, then the other measures which may help you are more the ATO. They've provided some support measures, which I think may be of more benefit to those kind of people. So in terms of what they've come up with is they have come up with pretty much a couple of options. One is that you're able to defer paying things like your BAS, income tax, FBT, those kind of taxes. You can defer for 4 months. It doesn't mean that you don't have to pay it. You just have to pay it. But potentially, if this is a bit of a downturn that's happening at the moment, which looks likely to happen maybe for the next couple of months, they're giving you leniency in terms of paying it off. So you could request that you have a longer period to pay the amount off. The other thing is, if you usually get a refund in your BAS, you might want to consider switching to monthly BAS and getting your refund quicker. So instead of waiting till the end of the quarter, so they're allowing businesses to do that. So normally you would only do that when you get to a certain, like over 2 million turnover, you have to then lodge that monthly. But at the moment, they're allowing smaller businesses to switch to monthly if it gets them cash quicker back. So those kind of businesses would be people who import stuff and they have to pay GST on imports, or maybe you sell mostly internationally, so you don't actually charge GST, but you actually do claim GST back. So those are the kind of businesses that might benefit from that. The other thing is they're allowing people to vary their PAYG installments. So once you pay tax to the ATO, generally the following year, you will then, when you do your BAS every quarter, you actually pay an installment towards your tax for that year. And so what they're allowed, normally if you vary your installment to nil and you have tax to pay, they will charge you interest at the end of the tax year. But they now are agreeing, or they're allowing people to vary that to nil. So that potentially will bring down the amount that you have to pay over in your BAS. So that's something. If you have paid PAYG installments in the current financial year for the September and December quarters, if you vary your tax to nil in March, it will actually give you a refund for those 2 quarters as well. So if you've already paid PAYG installments, you'll actually get that money back for now. So it's not that you don't have to pay the tax. You will have to pay the tax, but you'll kind of get to pay it at the end of the year and potentially give you some more cash flow right now. So that's, I think, potentially a benefit. And then the other thing is that they're remitting any interests and penalties that have been incurred after the 23rd of January, I think the date is. So if you haven't paid your tax or have paid your BAS and they've charged you penalties or interest, they are allowing you to remit them. Now, all these ATO measures are not automatic. So you need to get your tax agent to call the ATO and request these items. So you need to decide maybe what you want to do, or talk to your accountant, talk to your tax agent, and work out with them what will work best for you. And then you need to get them, or you need to call the ATO yourself. So either you call the ATO or get your tax agent to call them and put those measures in place. They don't happen automatically. I guess the other thing is that they are allowing people to enter into payment plans with very low or no interest payable. And so there is a specific ATO emergency hotline. I'll put a link in or the number in if you want to call them and talk to them about that. So I think those benefits or measures might actually assist more companies who are in a situation like you, Sophie, where you're outsourcing a lot of your stuff, but you're still potentially, you're still making money, so you're still having to pay tax, but they're just giving you, because really it's all about cash flow, because if you have a period of not having cash coming in, it's really tricky having to pay out all that money. So that's that. And then there are some different state packages. I think all states, aside from Victoria and ACT, have come out with additional packages. I'm not sure why Victoria and ACT haven't. So in New South Wales, but I'm not sure a lot of these measures will help very small businesses. So in New South Wales, they've come out with they've lifted the payroll tax threshold. So it used to be about 800,000, and they've lifted it up to $1 million. So that a lot of employers will not hit that, but you basically would be paying a huge amount of PAYG anyway if you were in that level. And they've also said that they will waive any fees and charges for small businesses such as cafes and restaurants. And so I'm not sure exactly what that entails, and I'm just working out now exactly what that is. That fees and charges for like sort of government fees and charges that they're waiving. So I need to look into that and come back to you if anyone is interested in that. I know in Queensland they as well are giving people like a payroll tax holiday for the current year, and they've also I think come up with some concessional loans, interest-free loans for 12 months. So I think looking at more trying to get cash flow into businesses so that they don't have to go under, because really cash is king in businesses, and you can't really continue if you don't have the cash. And if your sales are falling off a cliff, depending on what industry you're in, then there's no cash coming in. So those measures may be quite key. I guess the other thing to maybe just mention is working out what your responsibilities are as an employer, in terms of if you have an employee that, say, does come back from overseas and has to be in quarantine for 2 weeks. They're not sick, but they can't come to work. So if you... obviously, you need to kind of try and negotiate with your employee and see if they can do the work from home, which would be an ideal scenario, so you're not having to, the work can continue. But if they are directed to self-quarantine by the government, you actually don't have to pay them, which obviously is not in terms of actually having a staff relationship, is not ideal, because you kind of want to really be supporting people in this environment and not paying them. But I mean, potentially you can't pay them if you don't have money coming in. So your rights are that you don't have to pay them. They'd have leave without pay. If they were to get sick though, and they say got the virus, you would then pay them sick pay. And you would. So there's some information on Fair Work about how to deal with the scenario of, there's different scenarios of, where if as an employer you decide that your employees shouldn't come to work, you do need to pay them sick leave or pay them annual leave, or come to an arrangement with them as to how you're going to pay them. But if it's directed by the government and really you have no control over that, you're not under obligation to pay your employees, which obviously is not something you really want to be doing, because you want to be maintaining that sort of good staff relationship. But you may not be able to pay them, so it's kind of what are your responsibilities around that.
Wow, amazing. Ladies, does anyone have any questions for Geraldine? I think she's covered everything I could ever think of and more, which was amazing. Thank you so much, Geraldine. Now's the time if you want to. If you're watching the replay, make sure you do #replay, and if you have any questions, drop them in the comments below, and we can definitely get them answered from Geraldine. And just, I suppose right now, really just be calm in your business. I mean, there is so much opportunity. Virus or no virus, the world is always changing and we always need to adapt. So think about how resilient are we being? Are we being resourceful? Are we thinking about what we can do as opposed to what we can't do? And when I say this, I don't, play down the impact on anyone at all. It's just that right now we need to get creative. and look at how we can innovate. And, you know, Anna Milden is a perfect example, and I shared this in the group yesterday. So Anna is from Guest Management Sydney, or Sydney Guest Management. I hope I got that right, Anna. And so she manages a whole heap of Airbnb properties for people. Now you can imagine that everyone's cancelling their holidays and their trips. And so all of a sudden, you know, her clients had a full booking of reservations, and all of a sudden they are all gone. So her clients are sitting with empty properties. And so rather than going, oh no, Anna's gone and got very creative. And so now she's really, you know, honing in on her cleaning services. That's one of the things that she provides within that, because, you know, everyone needs extra cleaning right now. We need to make sure everything is highly sanitized and, you know, clean. And also she's now offering isolation accommodation. So if you do have to, what's it called, isolate, or what's the right word, Geraldine? But if you have to,
distancing.
Yeah, if you have to, you know, if you do have corona, or you've come back from overseas and you have to isolate yourself, then, you know, they've got amazing accommodation at an incredible rate. So that is just one example of how you can innovate. I mean, I feel like I'm dreaming about this all night. I'm thinking about all these different industries, you know, restaurants and cafes. You know, look at how you can, you know, do drive-through. Ultimately, people can ring up and put through their order, and you can have it ready for them, and they just literally pick it up and out they go. You know, how can you collaborate with people? There are whole new business opportunities that are coming through within this. I mean, this will pass. As my video on Monday, this will pass. We will rebuild. We will be fine. But right now, it's not the time for panic. It's the time to look at what can we do. So, you know, you might have an offer that is like $10,000 or $50,000. Is there a way that you can break that up so that you can help your clients with coming on at smaller increments over a longer period of time? So things don't have to end. It's just about how do we switch and change. It's like we've got to pivot, and we've got to innovate, and we've got to move forward. So if you have any questions, please let us know. And thanks for staying with us as we're working through some of these tech issues. I'm going to go back to Geraldine if there's anything else, Geraldine, from you. But thank you so much for all of your advice. And we might bring you back, Geraldine, next week, or as things kind of further develop, for you to maybe break down the language for us and help us to understand it, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And because I think they're coming out with new stuff all the time. So, and I think it's definitely the time to innovate, like you say. It's the time to move forward. I've got a client who's a cafe owner. Obviously, they're very nervous, but they're also coming up with ways of innovating, collaborating with, like, they're at the fish market, so they're collaborating with, like, grocers and stuff, and having people be able to drive through, fetch bread, fetch vegetables, and, you know, keep driving. So yeah, it's definitely the time to innovate, and I think, yes, we will all be okay, I hope.
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely will. And now, like as I was saying on Monday, now is actually the time to really look at, okay, how do I structure my business so that I can wear this if this happens again? How can I move my business more online? I've had so many conversations with people about how to use Zoom. I've been talking to the school about it because, you know, the school are cancelling the parent-teacher interviews. I'm like, why are you cancelling or postponing these till term 3? I said, do them now. Do it on Zoom. Have a video conversation. Like, stop delaying things. The world must go on. We must keep moving. We must keep working it. Like, I haven't cancelled my cleaner. I'm not cancelling anything, because that cash flow into their business is just as important as cash flow into mine. And we have to all keep that momentum happening so that it works for everyone. If we all pull back, then there's no cash flow going into anywhere. So don't pull back. Market, reach out to all of your customers. Now is the perfect time to really up your customer experience. Reach out to your customers. Tell them that you are available. You are online. You are there for them. What is it that they need right now? Show up. Be that voice for them. Help them through whatever's going on right now. Tell them that you're open. Tell them that you're, you know, if you have a physical space, you tell them about your extra cleaning, your extra cleaning routines, or whatever it is that you're doing. Make them feel comfortable, but reach out. Don't hide. Don't go into, isolation mode unless you have corona, and then please go into isolation mode. Thank you again, Geraldine, so much. If anyone has any questions on anything that we spoke about, drop them in the comments below, and I know Geraldine will be more than happy to help you. If you don't have an amazing bookkeeper or an accountant, reach out to Geraldine at Hemisphere Accounting. I'm sure she's not busy at all right now, are you, Geraldine?
No, not at all.
And if you do have a great accountant and bookkeeper, reach out to them and make sure that you understand what the benefits are for you. And if you have any questions, they're the right person for you right now. So thank you again so much, Geraldine. I'll go back to you one more time. We really appreciate your time, and everyone have a fabulous weekend. And we are personally in our family, we are buying bikes. So we're having a tow bar fitted next week, and we're buying bikes, and we're going to spend some more time bike riding with the family. So we can't do sports at the moment, but we're going to be a biking family. How fun will that be? I'm looking forward to my sore ass cheeks. And on that note, I'm going to go. Have a fabulous weekend, everybody. Thanks, Geraldine. Bye.
Bye.